Om Tat Sat. My humble prostrations to the all-pervading Brahman, to my worshipful Guruji, Swami Jyotirmayanandaji Maharaj, to sage Narada and all sages and saints, and to each of you, divine soul, watching today's satsang. So today we will be studying Sutra number 31 from chapter number 2, the glory of supreme devotion or Mahima of Parabhakti, and commentaries by my worshipful Guruji, Swami Jyotirmayanandaji Maharaj, narrated by myself, Swami Nikhilananda. So let's get started. Sutra 31, chapter number 2. The sutra is Raja Griha Bhojanadishu Tathaiva Drishtatvat. Again, Raja Griha Bhojanadishu Tathaiva Drishtatvat. So then Sage Narada says in this sutra, because it is seen in the example of king, home and food. So Sage Narada is guiding us that what we are trying to attain is already there. We just have to reveal it, but we don't know the secrets. We don't know how to get there. So, but we have to continue our sadhana and effort. So, three illustrations are given to explain supreme devotion as a revelation and not the fruit of action. So, we should not think it is because of our effort, our self-effort, we have generated this, but it is our devotion has revealed it. So that's how we have to understand. If it were the fruit of action, and we had covered this in the previous sutras, the cloud obstructing the sun and therefore removing the cloud does not create the sun. The sun was there. We just see it better without the clouds. So if it were the fruit of action, it would be perishable and confined to the world of time and space. So Sage Narada is taking the extra time and effort to guide to us. Then don't be too hung up on the fruit aspect, because every fruit is perishable. You eat a mango, then it's gone, it's perishable. So bhakti also, if it was a fruit, it would perish and then we would need something more. But that's not the case. Bhakti and pragya, all these are perpetually there. We don't have to acquire them through our effort. We have to reveal them through our effort. So with reference to the illustration of the king is the first example he's using, Sage Narada. He says there's a king who when he was young was lost from his kingdom. The father lost the battle, and the young king who was the heir apparent is now in the jungle, and he does not know that he is an heir apparent, that he's a prince and he would be the king. And now the kingdom is all his, but he doesn't know that. So he is living a miserable life and barely surviving for his daily food. Suddenly he gets the news that he is the king, and therefore he can come back, and all of a sudden he gains all the glory and the opulence, and the whole kingdom becomes his. And that is the example. And similarly, we aspire for bhakti the same way. We are struggling in the world, and yet we don't know that this whole nectar of devotion, this whole kingdom belongs to us. Thus, in the same manner, a devotee is essentially the self, and thus successor to the thrones of the heavens. So once we are putting in our bhakti, the effort, then in a way we are claiming our kingdom back. So though bhakti, through our bhakti, he realizes his essential nature and identifies with his actual self. So the lost kingdom is our actual self. Our wandering in the forest is the world process. So we are feeling miserable, we are not happy, we are not peaceful, we are not aligned, and we are always frustrated and disappointed, because that's all the world can give you. It is full of pain. There are some little showers of lightning, little happiness, little pleasures, but they're very little, and then the stress continues on and on. But yet you have this whole kingdom that has to be revealed to you, that it is yours. So that was the first example. The second one is the illustration of the home, that refers to a person who leaves his home to wander in strange lands. He ultimately returns because he is, no matter where you go, which vacation you go, when you come home, you feel so relieved that you're back home. You take your shower and you feel you are the king of your home. So therefore you feel peaceful. But yet when you are in a strange land, you are going through all those and enjoying those things as well. But internally, you know, those hotels and places where you're going are not your home. You will be going home somewhere. So by the practice of devotion, an aspirant who is apparently separated from his home rediscovers it and becomes free from the wanderings of the mind. So supreme devotion is that state in which all the differences melt and the soul, exalted to supreme selfhood, returns home. So you are no longer a wanderer. You have now come home once you get parabhakti. So having attained this, it no longer needs to wander in the world process. Therefore, devotion is not a means to an end, but it's an end in itself. So the journey itself becomes the destination, if you know what I mean. That's what Sage Narada is trying to guide us. In the illustration of food, the third illustration, he says a hungry person eats to remove the discomfort of the hunger. Suppose you're not hungry, then you don't need the food. So whenever our body is in a state of dis-ease, it becomes a disease. Isn't it? When we are in pain, we are diseased. So therefore, hunger is also in a way a disease, because we have to give it the medicine of food. Then with that medicine, the stomach is full and we are contented again. So having eaten, the discomfort is gone and we are again in our essential nature. So food is serving as a removal of discomfort. It's not giving us joy. It's basically just removing our dis-ease, assuming we are eating when we are hungry. These days we eat for no reason sometimes. But satisfaction arises from within the person and is not produced by food. So the satisfaction that I am full is coming from within you, isn't it? And if you keep on eating that same food, after that you will throw up. The same food becomes poisonous or toxic for you. The same food that was so pleasing becomes a source of pain if you keep on forcing yourself. So similarly, we have to understand that happiness or parabhakti lies within us. It's not in external things. Similarly, spiritual disciplines remove the discontent caused by desires. That is why we are trying to stay away from desires, because we are finding happiness within. They do not produce contentment or bliss. Bliss is already there. You are just revealing the bliss, just like removing the clouds to see the sun. And that is our essential reality. That's our intrinsic reality. Thus, through these three illustrations, Sage Narada shows that the disciplines that we adapt on the path are not meant to produce parabhakti. See, parabhakti, and very few people get to that stage of parabhakti. So therefore, it's a very worthy goal. You know, there are so many people who get to Olympics and do big things, and we are awestruck by them. But really, this journey to never be born again, from that perspective, is a much more difficult sadhana path to acquire. And yet we can get there as easily as plucking a leaf if we do it properly. But our whole dimension has to be fully concentrated on that. So it can be very difficult and yet very easy, which is why scriptures are paradoxical. This is why people, if they are not guided properly, can get all tangled up, and they don't understand the depth of this. So it takes discipline, faith, and intense devotion. So we remove the veils of illusion. So once the veils of illusion are gone, we find our essential nature. So I hope you are continuing to enjoy these sutras and you are evolving. That's the main thing. One of the things I want to make sure is that we don't leave this to an intellectual level. We actually bring it in our practice. We actually implement it so we can enjoy the nectar, close our eyes and feel the bliss and feel the growth. And only then can we know that we are making a difference in each other's lives. And if you're finding this helpful, please become an instrument in my project and share with others, guide others. And if you have people who are interested in yoga, send them this way, because it is for universal benefit and to protect and guide our holy scriptures and Sanatana Dharma and this great wisdom that in this material world is getting lost. So let us each do what we can to help in this mission. And I'm doing my humble attempt. My guru is like a giant who has done a ton of work, while I'm trying to just pick up little sand in this big ocean of knowledge. But I hope you're finding it helpful. And then when we all join and start picking up our buckets of sand, we can make a much bigger difference. So my blessings to each of you who are sincere on this path, and may God bless us all and give us the strength. May Sage Narada guide us as we walk through his holy book. And may Swami Ji's blessings be upon each of us also. Swami Jyotirmayananda. Om Tat Sat. This is Swami Nikhilananda.